Welcome to Live Coding Afternoon Tea. I'm Travis Toulson. So, today we are continuing our work on AI agents. And how's it going, Laszlo? The alley cats. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, like I said, we're continuing to work on the AI agents. So, if you're catching up with us, we've been going through building out an AI agent to help with troubleshooting at the CreatorCon C3 booth. It's those fancy, lovely cards that you may have gotten at Knowledge or one of the other CreatorCon events or the World Forums. So there are issues with the app. It doesn't always work the way we want it to, and sometimes things get stuck in the wrong state. And so I'm trying to create a AI agent that can help us troubleshoot and fix that. Now, we have run into a couple different issues with it over the last few episodes. Like overall, it's getting closer to being a value add to the team, a valuable new member of the team. I don't know how we should be treating these AI agents. Are they a part of the team? Are they software? I don't know. But we're getting very close to having something that actually works. The issues that we have run into, though, is one, AI agents, when you have them doing individual record operations, each time they do a record operation, they have to think about it. There's a bit of overhead to each record operation when you do it individually. And I want to try to streamline that so that there's just like one of the overheads on querying all of our stuff, because we got to get like the profile, the roles, the user record, the photo submission, the generated images. We got a lot of records we have to pull in. And right now we're doing that one at a time, and the AI agent has to think each time it wants to go out and get new records. And I want to try and streamline that. Hello, hello, welcome. So with that, let's kick up ye olde mood music. All right, I think I got it dialed in there. Let's pull up what we're working on. And that way you guys can kind of see it as I'm working through it. So let me go ahead and pull up my original AI agent. I've been doing some work behind the scenes trying to get this thing to work because we have an event coming up that I want this thing working for. Like, this is a real use case here. This is not just like me goofing around with stuff. So right now we have these different tools: get related QR codes, get user record for profile, get user roles, get the profile states description, get related lists, get sysid for application roles, get C3 profile record. All of these are different tools that we have given to our AI agent. The issue that I'm running into is that when I hand this AI agent an email address for a profile and kick that task off, okay, so it's currently executing, getting profile states, so it's gotten the knowledge base article and read through the valid states of the application. Now it's planning the next steps. So you notice each time it has to plan steps. Get profile record. planning next steps. Creating a URL. Retrieving QR codes, planning next steps. Retrieving the next records, planning next steps. That planning next steps is an overhead in the AI agent where it has to determine which tool to use next, what tool best matches up to our prompt. And you'll see 5 seconds, 6 seconds, it's going to keep expanding on me. 10 seconds. So it's still just collecting records at this point. Still collecting records. Still collecting records. That planning next steps is a significant overhead in this process. If we're trying to use this AI agent in real time, it's kind of slow. I will caveat this with, if you had to actually click through all of those records manually, it's probably not slow from like a person's point of view, but as a troubleshooter, if I am at the C3 booth and I type in a profile and now I'm having to stand here and stare and wait for things to happen, that wait time suddenly feels a lot longer than if I was actually going through the records myself. So a bit of user psychology I have to keep in mind there as I'm building this. So I really want that to be faster. Man, look at that cluster. That is glorious. That's funny. Okay, now it's done. Now I can actually look at these. So 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds. So you see all these seconds kind of add up. Like, as it was running, I was sitting here filling time for you guys, talking about what was going on, just to occupy myself while I waited for it to run. That's not really where we want to be for using it at the booth. Hey there, Christy. And Ben, welcome. So we want that to be faster, is kind of the point that I'm getting at here. I don't like how slow that is. Especially because there's not really a decision to be made by the AI agent. I want it to go out and get all of those records. So if I pull up our C3 application, and we'll pull up, wrong Bob. We'll pull up Bob the Builder here. So you'll see he's associated with photo submissions, generated images, QR codes, profile roles. We need to get all this data. And I kind of want to get it all in one block. Now, one thing I want to share is that offline, I did try knowledge graphs. And you will see that I have a CreatorCon C3 knowledge graph here. If you have not explored this particular technology on ServiceNow, it is really, really cool. Basically, it allows you to define an entry point record, which for me is the profile, and all of the relationships that you want included in the knowledge graph. So you can see I have mapped out all the records the profile is associated with. And now what I can do is say, does .com have the player role? So it's going to go out and search the knowledge graph. Now you'll notice I didn't give it a query. I didn't say, well, this one didn't return anything. Oh, probably because... Here, let's change that up. Does have any QR codes? I wasn't specific with the role, and I was expecting it to figure something out that it wasn't able to. There we go. So you'll see this query. You'll notice I didn't have to specify any joins. I didn't have to do any dot walking. I didn't have to specify a table even, really. Like QR codes is not a table name explicitly. And so it has gone out and it has found the 2 QR codes associated with Bob the Builder. How did it know bob@thebuilder.com? Like, what field? I didn't tell it to search the email field. I didn't specify anything along those lines, and it was able to just run that query. So this was one thing I was experimenting with to try and speed that up. It did not work well for me, though, because basically I am throwing an AI prompt into an AI prompt to generate data. And the AI are not consistent with how they communicate with each other. So I would run the exact same test 3 different times and get 3 different results, because it would change the test query. My AI agent prompt would change the query it was sending, and I was having a hard time getting it to give me the information I wanted consistently. So I tried this. It's a phenomenal tool. Lots of use cases where I could see this being very beneficial. And if I can figure out how to make the AI and the natural language processing work well together and consistently, this will be phenomenal. Oops, I meant to click this one. Yes, it is Magix. And basically what's cool about it is that at each of these nodes, you provide descriptions to the edge, you provide descriptions to the tables, you provide descriptions to the nodes. And it uses all of this information to interpret the query that you hand it, and that's how it figures out how to give you the correct results. Anyway, so cool. I wanted to share that one because it's something I had played with, and it was really, really cool. So, Laszlo says, time to roll up your sleeves and write some good old scripts. And that's exactly where we are heading. So, it's time to go back to being a regular old run-of-the-mill pro coder. And I have kind of started this work. I think I've got a script working. So you'll see I've got my copy of my AI agent here. If you'll remember from last time, even though you can version an AI agent, it only versions the prompt. It does not version the tools. So on this version, I created a copy of my AI agent, and I have given it a different set of tools. And you'll notice that the list is a lot shorter. That's because what I've done is I have used the script tool. So, what does the script tool do? The script tool allows us to pass in, it allows the AI agent to pass in certain inputs that get dropped into the script. So this inputs object will have inputs.email. Using that, I can run any arbitrary script I want and return any arbitrary object payload. So, can you get the AI agent to write you the script? Y'all are asking the right questions. So, the answer is no. Okay, yes, but also no. Now Assist has code generation. Y'all, I'm about to get so mad right now. I know we're gonna fix this. I know we're going to get this right in a future version. But Now Assist has code generation, and you can do Control Enter to pull it up. I am Control Entering right now. Now Assist code generation does not work inside of this script field. I'm not sure why. I'm sure it will be coming soon, but there is still a way. You can still call script includes from within this script. So if you want to use Now Assist's code generation, what you would do is you would create a script include where you can use Now Assist code generation, and then you would call that script include from this script, and now you have the magic of AI within AI. Right? Such a miss. It was heartbreaking. But that is how you would go about it if you wanted to use the Now Assist code generation for this, is you'd create a script include to do it. And there are actually examples of AI agents using the script tool that you can dive into and see that happening. So what do I have going on in this script? Well, I have a getRecordObject function, which basically just converts a glide record into an object. It iterates through all of the fields and builds a result object where it adds that field, its value, and display value. So with that, I do this with the profile record. So I query the profile record, convert it to a JSON object. I get the user record, convert it to a JSON object. I get the roles and convert it to an array of objects where each role has its value and display value. I do the same for submitted photos, generated images. You can see why I took this part offline and just went ahead and did it. This, honestly, because I did this without Now Assist, this actually took me a lot longer than I thought it would. This is one of the first scripts I have written in a while manually with no code assist whatsoever. I gotta be honest, I felt really handicapped. Not because I didn't remember the APIs and such, but just because all of my typos, all of my mistakes, all of the human element that I introduced back into it, and I introduce a lot of human element into my coding, all that got put back in, and it took me a lot longer to write this code than I thought it would, which is why I didn't do it in a script include, because I was like, I got this. I can script this out real quick. I couldn't. So I'm glad I did this behind the scenes because it actually took me a while. It was very sad. Yeah, tiny modal sad. There is, however, a little expansion thing. Gonna be honest, took me longer than I care to admit to find that. But you can see it full screen, so we do have that going for us. I did not see that either. So in the end, the result that we end up with is an object that has our profile record, our user record, the roles for that user, the photo submissions, the generated images, the QR codes, and I'm also pulling in the knowledge documentation for this. Now, have I run this yet to see if it works? No. So let's go ahead and try that. Real quick, the prompt right now is asking to provide an email, fetch the profile and related data needed to troubleshoot, create a URL, show the user a link to that profile, read the documentation, which I'm hoping it will read from the JSON payload that I've sent, and then do the profile state analysis that we were doing before. And right now I'm just asking to communicate its findings. We'll go back to trying to get it to fix the problem once I know this part's working. So let's provide our email address and away we go. Now the first question is, will this actually be faster? Retrieving profile data. Going. Now, if you remember correctly, some of those steps previously were taking 3 to 10 seconds a piece for each of the queries. Let's see how long this one takes to see if it saves us any time. That one took 26 seconds in total. So about 30 seconds. Across, I don't know, it still seems pretty slow. Maybe the AI isn't adding as much overhead as I thought. I don't know, we'll have to compare the two. All right, but we do end up getting an error. Please provide the documentation or authoritative source that defines the valid states. This is required to, okay, so it's not able to find the documentation in our JSON payload. If I look at the JSON payload, we do have all the nodes in prod. So hopefully it'll be faster in prod. Let's see, profile. Going through this JSON payload. No, it should be down towards the bottom. Documentation is empty for some reason. Okay. So let's go back and check our script, because clearly our script is not getting what it's supposed to. So we'll open that script tool back up. And I'll go down to our get documentation. Let's see. KB knowledge, where active is true. Workflow is published. Short description is this guy. Set limit 1. Get record object. All right, so first thing I want to check is, let's make sure our query is valid. So let's hit up KB knowledge. Yeah. And we are looking for active is true and workflow is published and short description is this one. Let me copy that query just to make sure the values look right. Workflow state is the internal field name, and it's a lowercase published. Okay, so let's go back to our AI agent. This should hopefully fix it. And I will show you the query that I copied out as well. All right, so this is the query that the query builder did. So it's actually workflow state is published. So let's see if that fixes it for us. Off it goes, retrieving profile data. And I do not have tea today. I have Monster, which does have tea in it. Needed a little more caffeine today. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. 34 seconds to get all that info. Okay. The profile is currently in pending review state. All required fields and related records are present and correctly populated except for user roles. The user record is active and associated with the profile. At least one photo submission is in the completed state and generated images and QR codes meet requirements. Issues identified. The user does not have the required roles assigned. So we'll have to double check that. Add the above roles to the user record to ensure full compliance with the pending review state requirements. And we have our profile link. No other issues were found. The profile is otherwise valid and ready for review. The puns are strong. Y'all, I've been watching Peacemaker lately, and every single episode title is a pun. And like, I'm in heaven watching this show. Like, every time I see the next episode, I'm like, oh, what's the title? What's the title? It's so great. All right. Oh, this is pretty cool. Check that out. So this is my JSON payload over here. That actually is a lot easier to look at for testing purposes. That's pretty cool. All right, so one of the things that's kind of neat here is that with the documentation, we're including documentation in the JSON payload of that big script that we wrote. In the AI agent, I have instructed it let me get there so y'all can see. this is the instruction that it's following. I have instructed the AI agent to read the documentation retrieved to understand the valid states of the application. Notice I didn't explain to it where that documentation was. The JSON object that I have passed back from the script is being pulled into the AI agent's memory, and it's looking at the keys of that object. One of the keys is documentation. And so the AI agent has intuited that that's the documentation that I want it to read. The documentation is an array. So it's iterating through the array, it's finding the body content of that particular knowledge article and reading it. And I suspect that if I pass it other knowledge articles, it would probably read those as well. So the AI agent is intuiting from the JSON payload and from the prompt that this is what I want it to do, and has read that documentation and applied it correctly. So that's actually really, really cool. I wasn't sure if that was going to work or not. Sadly, I don't feel like it's actually saving us time compared to the other one. Oops, keeps going back to agentic workflows. Let's see. I'm kind of curious to compare real quick. Section 2, data gathering, profile analysis, communication. Okay, so this one's basically doing the same steps because I pulled the fixing out of it. Let's see how long it takes this one to run. Because once we queried the values, it was pretty quick to a solution after that. So like 30 to 45 seconds maybe? It's going. Maybe the other one is faster. My dying inside has begun, so I'm pretty sure this one's taking longer. Okay. Let's see. 4, 3, 12. 986, 3, 4. Is there like a total down here, or do I just have to add it up? That's sad. 3. Let's see, so that's 7, 19, 23, 26, 29, 33, 35, 38, 41, 45, 53-ish, 55-ish, 62, oh my gosh, it keeps going, 62, 67, 74, 81, 86 seconds. All right, so it looks like that one took on order of like 86 seconds end to end. Ugh, can't believe I had to do math. Getting a stopwatch for this one. All right, the time to beat is 86 seconds. So let's see if this one goes faster. All right, we know that this tool is going to take a minute. This is our big one. We're at 30 seconds. Should complete any minute now. 45 seconds. Seconds. $70, $80. So it's about, oh wait, we're not done yet. Yep, it was about the same amount of time. That's kind of sad. That was disappointing. I was kind of hoping because it didn't have the overhead that it might be faster. Now, the one thing that may still be making this slower, or that may be slowing this one down a bit, is in my script. Once it opens up. In my script, I am leveraging this getRecordObject function, which is iterating through all of the fields. Whereas in the AI agent, I'm only handling some of the fields. Now, this is going to reduce performance in this script in two ways. One, it's iterating through more fields. Two, the final payload is going to be larger, which means the AI has a larger document that it has to tokenize and process. Both of those could be slowing this down. So, what if I paired things back a little bit? To do this, I need to open up some records. Oops, not add tool, open that tool. I'll just drop it in here. Oops. Wrong spot. I'm going to change how this function works so that I can specify which fields and shrink up the payload a bit. So for each field, result field equal to basically the same daggone thing, just a different way of iterating it. So basically for each field, add that field's value and display value to our result payload before we return it. So then the next thing I have to do is I will have to update any of the ones that I want fewer fields from. So let's just run under the assumption that I want everything from the profile record. From the photo submission, I think from the photo submission, I mostly just want number and state, I guess. So let's go down to submitted photos. And let's just do number, state for this one. Yeah, we'll see if it intuits that these photo submissions belong to that person. Let's see if we can avoid populating the requester. All right, for generated images, we'll do number. Open that up. For generated images, we will do number, state, prediction ID, and background ID. Oh, and exclude from limit. Yeah, we'll do those ones. From QR code, we will do QR type. From documentation, we'll get short description, and that one I'm gonna have to look up. I don't know. Let's go to the KB knowledge list.do. Open up one of these records. Text. All right, so I want the short description and the text from knowledge. I don't think I care about anything else. Get user, we've already trimmed down. Get profile, we don't really want to trim down because I pretty much need all of that. I mean, I probably don't need all of it, but I'm going to pull it all in anyway. Let's see if that saves us anything. All right, pull up my handy dandy stopwatch. And go. Yeah, I'm curious to see how much time that actually buys us in the overall payload. It's interesting because I really would have thought that reducing the number of steps that the AI agent had to process and think would have reduced the overall processing time. So far, that doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, are we done? Oh, wow. Look at that. Get profile data and all related. Took 21 seconds instead of the 50 seconds it took before. So that brought us down to 50, probably less than 50 seconds runtime. That one was a lot faster. It'd be interesting to see if that remains consistent. The profile is currently in the pending review state, which is a valid state. Now, it's still telling me that the roles are wrong, but Bob clearly has those roles. So let's take a look at this tool. No roles populated at all. That array is empty. So something is wrong with our script in that regard. All right, so let's go check out the roles part of the script. Well, that would do it if I had the wrong table name. What I wanted was sysuser has role, where the user is that, and let's drop in on actually, I can probably do it from here. Roll. Apparently not. Let's go sys user as role list.do. And then let's pull up this one. Name. Name's what I'm looking for. So role.name in, or excuse me, that's not what I want. I want application, where role dot application is, let's just get all the C3 roles. That makes more sense. So I'll just copy that query, and we'll do add encoded query instead. Paste, delete all that off. And then save. Away it goes. Yeah, definitely. We're definitely going to do a broader comparison here in just a minute and do multiple runs and time each. So we'll see if this one works. All right, so I got 55 seconds on that one. Did it get... The user has both with avatar and without avatar roles, does he? That seems to be incorrect. Okay, that was just an issue in the processing. It is getting the correct roles. Oh yes, yes. I mean, there's definitely more accurate ways of handling it than simple average and such. Especially across 3 tests in one environment. Yeah, there's lots of better ways of going about performance testing, but for our purposes, it'll be good enough this time. All right, so let's run that one again. And I will say that, like, if I inlined within the JavaScript, if I inlined my calls instead of iterating an array of fields, that script could be faster. Like, this script could be optimized further, but I don't think we would be shaving seconds off of the clock for that kind of optimization. So that's one thing that I'm keeping in mind through this. Darn, I wasn't paying attention and missed. I will have to do math. I hate doing math. All right, we're going to pull out our handy dandy calculator. 23, 3, 0.5, 5, 4, 3. Okay, that one was for 41 and a half. All right, let's run that one more time. I'm just gonna, math is hard. I hate math. Math has never been one of my strongest subjects. It has always, actually, it's always been my worst subject. Math is just hard. I respect it, but I don't like it. So I'm just gonna calculator this one again because I don't trust my attention span to be able to watch this for a minute straight. Like, it's entirely too much time to keep my attention. Okay, it has reached the end. We'll collapse all these. So that's going to be 2, 21, 5.6, 3. That one was even faster at 37.8. All right, now let's bump over to the other guy. I'm gonna try to stick with this one. Start. Here it goes. Because this one has a lot more steps, so there's a lot more things to punch into the calculator. Personally, I still can't get over the fact that I can pull in knowledge articles from Query and have it read through troubleshooting instructions and actually apply that to the record. I think that's wild. You know what? I'm going to have to calculator it anyway. Because otherwise I'm going to have to, like, I'm doing math either way. If it takes over a minute, I have to do math anyway. Planning next steps. Come on, you're almost there. No. I am ready to add the correct role to Bob the Builder. I love it when AI yields a different response with the same inputs. I think that's one of the things that has been slightly frustrating working with AI agents is that it is inconsistent. You can give it the exact same email address with the exact same profile in the exact same state, run it 6 different times, and you'll get different results. It is not guaranteed to have the same result every time. Okay, there's the analysis. So I'll have to try to edit out. What's going on here? It's not letting me expand it. Have fun, Laszlo. Thanks for joining. Why won't it expand? There it goes. Oof. So many steps. All right, so let's tally the total here. Not fun. That's 2. Plus 3 plus 2 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 4 plus 5 plus 3. Oof, 94 seconds on that one. Now it's probably not completely fair to this AI, seeing as how it chose a different path. But I'm still counting it. Let's run this one a second time. But like, just in general, we're clocking, the other one is clocking in around half the time. Slightly more than. So at one point in this, I was actually a little pessimistic that the script approach would actually be faster. Now that we're getting a closer to on-par comparison between the two, I'm actually starting to get kind of optimistic because, like, if it takes half the time to run the script version that it does to run the record operation version, that's a significant savings. Especially when, like, for most UIs, you're talking tolerance of a few seconds of response time. Gosh, this one just takes longer. It just takes longer. Yep. Lock it in. Lock it in. All right, done. Ooh, this is a good question. And for this one, Christy, I gotta ask, because I'm assuming you're talking about using like an agentic workflow or something like that. Like, when you do an agentic workflow, will those agents run in parallel? Like, will they run at the same time, or is that sequential step by step as well? Okay, cool. So the agentic workflow would let me do this stuff in parallel then. That's pretty cool. Oh, not 100% sure on that. We can also test that. Probably not today, because I'm already over again. Because I'm just completely irresponsible with time. +1 +4 +2 +4 +3 +3 +3 +5 +3 +4 +2 +5 +3 +6 +4 +3. That one clocked in at 81 seconds. We'll run this one more time, but I think we're pretty solidly in the realm of a performance improvement of somewhere around the lines of about 50%. Yeah, we'll definitely need to ask Victor on that one. That, honestly, that's something that I was curious about, was how could I run these in parallel? And I hadn't tested the agentic workflows to see if that was a thing, but like that would probably be the ideal, because then you could run all these checks at once and not have to sit there and wait for a sequential lineup of tasks. The only reason I hadn't tried it yet is because my assumption was that the agentic workflow would be step by step. In my mind, the AI agents are the tools of the agentic workflow, and therefore it must run the same way, sequentially, step by step. But I might be wrong on that. Like, that may be a naive assumption on my part. If it does run in parallel, that could be another way to performance optimize these AI agents. But I do think it's cool that even just from the simple standpoint of pulling in all these different records, that we can demonstrate that there are ways, if you have to run a lot of record operations, that it may actually be more optimized to run it in a single script instead, if you know up front that you're going to need all those records anyway. Okay, I think we're done. And basically what it comes down to is just each of these tools, each of these steps in the AI workflow process has an overhead to it. The AI agent has to think about what it's going to do for each step, and that adds processing time to the overall execution. And whereas a code interpreter does that in a much more optimized, much quicker way, it takes the AI agent a little bit more time to work through that natural language and process it into the mathematical model. Four plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 0.5 plus 3 plus 2. All right. That one appeared to be the fastest run at 67.5. So one thing that's interesting is that each time they got faster on both the script and the record operation. The script went 55, 41, 37, and the record operation went 94, 81, 67. So both of them got faster with each iteration. So that's kind of interesting to note. I wonder if that's a product of caching or some of the AI memory at play. On average, the script took about 45 seconds and the record operation took about 80 seconds. So not quite a 50% savings, but close. That's significantly faster, especially if you're talking about waiting for this live at the booth. So I think that's a really interesting takeaway from this particular experiment as we were building out these two AI agents, is that if you have a lot of record operations, that can start costing you in terms of time, in terms of processing time. In those cases, you might be better off switching to the script tool and basically inlining all of those queries from the AI's perspective. That way it only has to think about what do I need to do next once, rather than having to think about it for each individual record operation. So that's a pretty cool lesson learned here for, how to improve the performance of your AI agents. I am very curious to see if there's a way to parallelize those processes. I think I got that word right. Yes. Ideally, so there's a couple of different ways of using these AI agents, and there would probably be different versions of it for each use case. So there is the use case for the automated agent. That is the agent that's proactively responding to issues. For that agent to work, it has to have a trigger on some record insert, record update. That AI agent would therefore only have the tools that would relate to something that we can key off of some kind of record change. Those could also potentially be more optimized for smaller types of operations. I wouldn't need to check the roles more than likely on every single record operation. I'd realistically only need to do that on certain operations. Once they have hit pending image selection, like they've got the right roles, I don't have to worry about that. I might have to recheck it after they select an avatar, but I don't need to run that on every single state change of the profile. Similarly, I don't have to check if there are QR codes at any point other than compositing the card. So there are certain states where I have to do certain checks and certain states where it realistically just doesn't matter. So for that agent, I could break it up more. Then there's the AI agent that does helping our agents at the booth. That agent obviously has to process more of the knowledge base articles, has to be more able to address the whole profile and suggest to our agents what they might be able to do to resolve an issue. And so because the agent has more power and leeway to make changes to the internal records, it has to be a little more circumspect on the knowledge that it has and what it can suggest. Then there'd be a version of this AI agent that we would deploy for self-service, potentially even surfacing it in the app itself, in the mobile app, where, they could turn around and maybe click a link that says get help, and it pops up an agent, and they go through and say, hey, this is the issue I'm having, and the agent helps them try to fix it. The combination of the proactive and the in mobile app would be the ideal ones to target first, because that results in fewer people coming to the booth specifically because they have an issue. Gives us more touch time with people that are there to discuss the app, how it was built, the fun conversations. Now, that also introduces some interesting questions about how we approach these AI agents, because do we build each of these smaller subjects as tools for an AI agent? And then reuse those tools across multiple agents? Do we build specific agents for each of these use cases and then assemble those into agentic workflows for a specific use case? This is some stuff that I'm still trying to tease out exactly how best to use these different cases, and right now I'm not sure. Like, I know that an AI agent has triggers, but I haven't looked in depth at agentic workflows to see what it has. I know it has the ability to add it to the Now Assist panel, and AI agents, I don't think, can be added directly to the Now Assist panel. So I'm trying to tease out what all of the features and use cases for each of these things are, because it may be that I'm trying to put too much into one particular AI agent, and I should be breaking this up a little bit more. I'm still trying to work out the details on how to handle some of that, but it's interesting when you start thinking about these different use cases. It's interesting to think about how you would assemble those into AI agents, tools, and agentic workflows and skills. Let's not forget Now Assist skills exist too. It's interesting to think about where each of those should sit in our tool belt. Won't that be optimization of queries being rerun and cached results? Yes, the chaining performance improvements likely stemmed to some degree from the query caching that Glide Record automatically does. So there's likely some savings in that from each of our calls. Eventually, there's only so much that optimization will save you, though. But I'm also wondering if the AI agent does some kind of optimizations and caching as well. I don't know. I don't know if it's capable of that, but it would be interesting to see if some of that is in play behind the scenes. Can you get the AI agent to tell you the scripts it used so you could get it to figure out the path, then pull that path down in a script? So to a certain extent, yes. Basically, this little description over here tells you the entire thought process of the AI agent, what it's doing at each step of the way. So when it says Gen AI, AIA React Engine, this is when the AI agent is thinking. This is the planning what to do next action. Then you have the tool. So you can see exactly which tools it's pulling from, and I can go look at that tool to see what it's doing. This tool's a record operation, so it's pretty easy to tie that to a Glide Record query that's being run, and you can see exactly what's being queried, what fields are being returned, and how it's doing that. So in that sense, you can get a sense of what each tool does. Now, in terms of determining what exact script is this tool doing behind the scenes, I don't think there's a way to... I don't think that there's like a copy script or something along those lines. You kind of have to intuit what it's doing behind the scenes. But I will say that to a large degree, for a lot of the tools, it's not difficult to intuit what it's doing behind the scenes and how to do that in an optimized way if you've worked with the Glide APIs for any length of time. So you would be able to do that to some degree with some experience. Let's see. Yeah, I've started looking at some of the triggers and how to work with that, and it is interesting when we take a look at what triggers you can give to these AI agents. So what I'm talking about there is this define trigger. So when we hit the add trigger, we can choose created, created or updated, updated, daily, monthly, repeat, run once, weekly, inbound email actions, like. And so like this would be profile. I'm pretty sure this one's pretty straightforward. Use a new custom script. Oh, that's cool. So like basically we can say when it's created, evaluate this script. So that actually is, that's really, really cool. Because you can write a script, sysid of the user to run the triggered agent or agentic workflow. Oh, this is method of defining sys user specifically. That's not a script, that's not a condition script. This is complicated. Rightly so, but still complicated. Objective template? You have to give it a prompt. Oh, gosh. This is going to be... Triggers is going to probably be like a couple episodes unto itself, I feel like. Like, this is nuts. Define additional user statements that will help guide when to trigger this agentic workflow. So basically, you have conditions on the record. And then you have like an objective for that trigger. And you could probably put conditionals. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the triggers are capable of. That's kind of wild. Hey, James. Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how AI voice agents will be different from regular agents. And another thing that I have seen some of our engineers tinkering with is pulling in video agents alongside the Now Assist panel. And that's nuts. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of some of those experiments. Like the future is nuts. I forget where I heard it said. It might have been Bill on one of them fancy news channels. Might have been Bill that said it, but the future of UI is AI. And I definitely see where that sentiment is coming from. Like, there are a lot of UIs that I question whether or not they will still need to exist if we're doing it through agents. Voice, video, text. Like, there's a way for us to just converse with these agents in multiple different ways to get what we want done. And just when I think about how I use, you know, the voice agents that already exist just in my day-to-day, and how I use the chatbot agents day-to-day, like more and more of my interactions with a computer are done through chatbots. And I'll be honest, I was the person that said, I will never use a chatbot. When Virtual Agent first came out, I shrugged my shoulders and I was like, I don't care. I'm never going to use a chatbot. That is not going to happen over my dead body. Like, I use a computer so I don't have to talk to people. Why are you making my UI behave more like talking to people? So I swore up and down I would never use a chatbot. I use chatbots every daggone day. Like, so many things that I used to do by clicking through UIs, I just go to a chatbot and type something in, and it spits out some version of what I want, and then I talk back to the chatbot to refine it. It's crazy. And when you start tying in stuff like AI agents that can do more than just generate content, but can actually start troubleshooting, figuring things out, taking action on your behalf, creating calendar invites, like there reaches a point where I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to talk to the chatbot now, right? Like, I'll just tell the chatbot what I want, and it has all the skills to do what I want it to do. Now I find myself asking, why would I go to a calendar app? Why would I go to an email app? Why would I go to YouTube to upload a video? Why would I go to why would I go to any number of these different things if I can go to one tool, tell it what I want, and it goes and does those other tools for me? The future of UI is AI. Voice, video, text. I don't think all computer UIs go away. There are still use cases for forms. There are still use cases for some of these traditional UIs. I don't think AI agent replaces all of those use cases. But I'm a lot less pessimistic about what UIs it might replace. And the fact that there are a lot of use cases where it might actually replace those things. And that's honestly kind of nuts to me, because that's a big story arc for me to go from I'm never going to use these things to, wow, this is going to replace a lot of what I've built my career on. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. We do need Victor on stream. We need to get him on one of these to coach us young Padawans and answer all these questions. Maybe we should do an AMA. Maybe we should do an AMA with him and get him in and get all of these questions answered and get all this stuff spoken through, because like, this is nuts. Just feels like an extended version of Stack Overflow, to be very honest, as a developer. I actually disagree with that sentiment, just because Stack Overflow can't suggest things to improve. And I don't mean like improve this code. I mean like features that I can add to my application. Stack Overflow can't do that. I can hand a block of code and just say, how would you fix this? And whereas Stack Overflow, I have to wait for other people to respond. The AI can come back right away and make suggestions. It can comment my code for me. I can ask it to write my code for me. And to some extent, yeah, I can query that on Stack Overflow and probably get it to write my code for me to some extent. But AI is doing a lot of other things for me. And now, as a developer, I'm also creating an agent that is helping me troubleshoot and resolve code that is not working in production. It's functioning as a mediator to buy me time to go and find and fix the bugs. There's a lot of use cases for me as a developer that AI is giving me tools in my toolbox that I did not have before. And that's before I start talking about it from more of an architectural perspective of what problems it allows me to solve, which I have to say is a much broader set of problems than I would solve with code. For me, as a developer, I am uncovering new use cases every single day. And again, I say this as someone that up until like a month or two ago, I didn't touch AI. I didn't have an interest in it. I didn't see a use for it. I didn't understand it. The more I've gotten to understand it, the more I have worked it into a lot of my processes as a developer and as a content creator. It is a much bigger part of my day-to-day as a developer at this point. And to the extent that when I don't use it, when I do have to go query Stack Overflow, when I do have to go search it on Google, I notice it. I notice the absence of the AI in those cases. I notice when I don't have that tool in my tool belt. Not because I don't remember how to do things or I'm losing my skills as a developer, but just because it's that much of an asset to the skills I already have. It helps me in a lot of different ways that isn't always easy for me to articulate because I don't readily notice it until I try to do the same task without it. And it's at that point that I immediately realize, wow, this has supercharged my ability to write applications. And I don't just accept whatever the AI spits out at me. Like a lot of times there's refining conversations that I have with the AI where I'm like, okay, I don't like how you did this. Can you fix it or do it differently? So again, like it's not like my skills are atrophying because I don't always like what the AI gives me and I tell it to fix stuff. I tell it to change what it gives me. But I like the results of the process that I like the results of the AI. I like the results of the process when I'm using AI more than when I don't. The rate of change is crazy. I don't know how you keep up. I can't keep up with it. And honestly, I kind of don't try to. Anytime someone has asked me the question of how do I keep up with all of the changes, my answer is always, I don't. I partner with a lot of really great people and we tackle different things and we look into different things and we explore different things and we share that knowledge. Because the team of people around you, in my opinion, is the only way to keep up to date on all of the changes that are coming. It's unrealistic to keep up with all the changes that are coming in just AI, let alone everything else that's out there. Let alone all the ServiceNow changes. Honestly, I have used ChatGPT I have used voice for vibing as well. In fact, I have a process at this point where when I'm writing articles for the developer advocate blog or coming up with video ideas, part of the day job, I will actually go on a run, wear my little headset, and I will talk to Claude while I am running to info dump my idea and what I'm thinking. And over the course of the run, I will have a discussion with Claude on refining that idea into an article, refining that idea into a video script. And like, this is one of those things where AI is not just improving my output. It's not just improving my productivity. It's improving my quality of life. I get to run more. I get to enjoy an aspect of life that's one of my favorite things to do more because I don't have to sit in front of a computer to do that job. And the same has been true for coming up with ideas for how to improve an app or working through problems that I am having regarding code. I can turn around and I can take that offline, so to speak, throw a headset on, talk to AI, reason through those problems, troubleshoot, figure something out, and then go back and sit in front of the computer again. And this also feeds into that the new UI is AI concept really comes into play for me because I can get up and away from a screen and just talk to an AI to figure things out. And I gotta tell you, like, again, I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, AI is the best. Like, I'm a latecomer to this. I thought AI was stupid, honestly. I really did. I thought AI was dumb. I was like, I do not see a use case. I had ServiceNow folks when I was out, before I joined ServiceNow, I had folks that came in and were like, well, how would you use AI for Service Portal? And I was like, that's the neat part. I wouldn't. How would you use AI for app development? That's the neat part. I wouldn't. That was my answer. Like, I was cut and dry with them up front. I did not see a use case. I was very pessimistic about the capabilities of AI and what it would mean for my day-to-day moving forward. A year and a half later, it's in everything I do. And it's improving my quality of life. It's giving me more opportunities to go out and run. It's giving me more opportunities to build cooler things that I really couldn't do before. Like, the notion of a troubleshooting tool previously, like, was just something I thought was a good idea. There are ideas I have right now for analyzing our videos, analyzing the ideas for analyzing our videos, our metrics, the content we're putting out, how people are responding to it to identify trends that I don't think would have been possible before, but with AI, it feels possible. And I'm exploring those apps now. And that's one of the cool things about AI to me is how many things it has opened up the possibilities for. And again, I say all this as someone that was a poo-pooer on it early on. Yes, I am a curmudgeon on this. It took a lot to move me in this direction. A lot of it was prodding from Earl to try different things, but I am a convert at this point. I am a convert. Security side's the big question, ain't it? Yeah, that's smarter people than me are gonna have to suss that out. That's above my pay grade. Yeah. I understand run dumps. I understand run dumps. This is a different take on run dumps. Absolutely. I do. The farthest distances I've gotten up to are 20 miles at this point, so I have a thorough understanding of run dumps. That's hilarious. AI is the only way Christy builds portals. AI is Christy's UI. That's another... You bring up a real good point there, Christy. I do learn a lot from AI. Things that I didn't know. I remember when I was building CreatorCon C3 in the first place, there was this point where I had to create a Node.js app. And my experience with Node.js is so-so. Like, it kind of exists. But I had to develop this Node.js app to basically process a bunch of attachments up into ServiceNow using the attachment APIs. And I had to do it in like an hour. Like, I had no time. I had to get this done. Doing it manually was not an option. There were too many images that had to be uploaded, and this had to be done quick. So like I think I had like 4 hours to get it done in total. So like I needed an app that I could test like in an hour. Never could have done it on my own. AI wrote it. And one of the things that I took away from it was using the attachment REST API. I learned a little bit about how to leverage it that I was not aware of before, which enabled me to take that information and use it elsewhere in the C3 application. And one of my recent blog articles talks about some of the binary image processing and how we moved files not only from the AI that created the images to ServiceNow, but also giving access to one of our vendors to pull those images down. And then also the latest article talks about in the mid server how I used the attachment API to pull down data, to pull down the images in order to print those files. And the ability to print those files came from modeling it after how the AI was uploading the images. And so I did learn a lot about how to work with attachments at a number of points from AI, and it kind of made a lot of the glue pieces of the automation for C3 possible, both in terms of printing and in terms of communicating with our vendor. So that was some really cool stuff that I had learned from AI. We have Lauren and Laszlo coming out to the London World Forum. So those are the two folks that you will have to look forward to meeting out there on that one. There we go. Christy's got it. Lauren and Laszlo. So you'll get to meet those two. I'm going to try and sneak into their luggage, and we'll see how that works. You should not expect to see me. However, if you hear about me getting pulled off by the air marshals, you'll know why. With that, I am going to... Wow, I went 45 minutes over on this stream. You guys got me yapping on this one. So with that, I am going to wrap up this stream. And thank you guys for coming out and joining me. It was a joy. I hope you guys learned something. I know I did. So be sure to check out our other live coding streams. We've got live coding second breakfast on Mondays with Christy, live coding 11sies with Earl on Wednesdays, and live coding afternoon tea on Thursdays with me. So be sure to check those out, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys.